The Blue Jackets played a little too emotional tonight, and it cost them a point in the end. We'll talk about the 3-2 loss against the Capitals today on Locked On Blue Jackets.
You're Locked On Blue Jackets, your daily podcast on the Columbus Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Hayden Houshorn, and back with me again is my co-host, Jay Foster. We're here to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of your favorite team and ours, the Columbus Blue Jackets. We want to say thank you to the everydayers for making this your first listen every day. Locked On Blue Jackets is free and available on all podcast platforms. We're here on YouTube. I have had a little camera issues before, so if I just disappear from the YouTube, we're going to keep rolling. We're just going to keep battling through. But we're also available on all podcast platforms, again, here on YouTube and the Sirius XM app. You can find us through there. Today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. Download the Sleeper app and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL to get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. I figured we'd start off this episode by reacting to the 3-2 overtime loss on Thursday night to the Capitals. And then maybe in the second segment, try to really hone in on the things that are preventing this team from winning, I think, very easy, winnable games. I had this. I don't think the Capitals are very good. I'll just get that out in front. You will hear me talk about that more. We'll get Jay's thoughts on that. And then the final segment, we will talk about some things to build upon because I thought the Jackets actually looked pretty good tonight at times. And I still think there are some good things that they can build upon moving forward. But just – Jay, this was a weird game. Weird in the sense that Blue Jackets really dominated it, I felt like. If you look at the shots, and a lot of this is because the Capitals get a lead. They've done this to the Jackets twice this year where they've gotten a lead and they just sit back and just pray that that the Blue Jackets won't score. And they usually win that bet because the Blue Jackets can't score when they have wide open opportunities at times. Nonetheless, Jackets get this game into overtime, have all the momentum going their way. Nationwide Arena is yelling for the first time it's yelled in a long time. Feels like this is going to be a win for the team. And Elvis picks a fight with Tom Wilson in his own net. Probably shouldn't have done that. Gets a penalty. And the greatest goal scorer of all time, or soon to be the greatest goal scorer of all time, puts one away for you. So, Jackets probably should have had 2 points tonight, Jay, but they get one, and I don't know. What are your thoughts on this just terrible finish to what was a really good game, I thought?
I mean, I can't in any good conscience criticize Elvis for punching Tom Wilson in the face because, same. I agree. They probably deserve the 2 points. There are a couple of things in this game that I think that you can point to as being reasons that the Blue Jackets lost. And I think the main one is not actually a Blue Jackets thing. For whatever reason, Charlie Lindgren turns into Dominik Hasek whenever the Blue Jackets are in town. That's, I think, his third game this season against the Blue Jackets. He's won all 3 of them. And it's the second of the 2 that he's allowed 2 goals or less. So he's just... The Capitals have a kind of an underrated goalie there in Lindgren, I think. He's played very, very well for the Capitals, which is great because the Capitals aren't really scoring much of any goals, which is it is wild to me that Alex Ovechkin only has 6 goals on the season. I knew coming into this they were talking about the 14-game goal drought for him, and I was like, oh, he's absolutely scoring tonight. He just is. That's how Blue Jacket hockey works. Frustrating, but at this point in the season, I am choosing to be encouraged by the good things instead of annoyed by the bad things. That being said, for the name of all that is holy and good in this world and in the year of someone's Lord 2023, why are we still trotting out Provorov and Andrew Peak on the same pairing? Why are we trotting out Andrew Peak at all? But that pairing is clearly not working. They were abysmal tonight. At 5v5, there were, let me pull it up. Ivan Provorov was out attempted 14 to 27. Andrew Peak out attempted to 11 to 26, and they both had more ice time than Jake Bean. What are we doing here? Like, Jake Bean, David Jiricek was excellent tonight. David Jiricek on the ice for 23 shot attempts, 4 and 3 against. Jake Bean, 21 shot attempts, 4, 5 against. This is all at 5-on-5, by the way. Like, what more do they want Jiricek to do than, obviously he just came back off the healthy scratch, he had something to prove, but it's just so intensely frustrating watching Eric Branson get trotted out on the top pairing, which, credit to him, he was very good tonight, which I feel like I've been saying a lot this season, which is extremely concerning to me, but that Provorov Peak pairing, man, it's got to go. It's got to go. They're not getting it done. In terms of goals against, who was on the ice for the Capitals scored 2 goals on the power play as well, which is that's concerning actually that I want to talk about. The power play keeps getting better for the Blue Jackets anyway. The penalty kill is getting worse, and I think that's just kind of regression to the mean. But I feel like the penalty kill is regressing faster than the power play is improving, and that again concerns me. I don't know if that's recency bias or if that's something you've noticed, but it feels like both of them are kind of aiming to meet in the middle, but what they'll actually meet at is like 20th in the league, which is frustrating.
Yeah, no, power play or penalty kill is definitely taking a step back. But one of those power play goals for the Capitals tonight was on a 4-on-3, which is just pretty much impossible.
And Elvis made, I think, 3. Actually, I can look this up. I think Elvis made like 3 good saves in that third period.
Yeah.
In that overtime period on the penalty kill. I remember at least 3 strong attempts, which he did. And then again, people are gonna blame Elvis for this loss. And yeah, maybe he shouldn't have lost his temper and tried to punch Tom Wilson in the face with his blocker. Probably a lot of people were mad about the officiating. I'm fine with him taking that one roughing penalty. I don't think Tom Wilson deserved a coincidental minor, as much as it pains me to admit it. Elvis has got to kind of keep his cool in situations like that. So the loss is not on him, but I can understand. And I can understand where he's coming from because Tom Wilson was winding him up all game. But sometimes you've just got to not take that penalty. You were 2 minutes away from a shootout, and then it's a coin flip. So
I don't even think they were 2 minutes away from a shootout. I don't remember who was on the ice. Might have been Sillinger, I want to say, had the puck. It was him and one other Capital, and then Lindgren. And like the Blue Jackets, I felt like after Elvis made a breakaway save on the game, we're recording right after the game ended. I don't remember who he had made a save on the play before or immediately before he got the penalty. He made a huge save. And then Kent Johnson checks Tom Wilson into the net, and then Tom Wilson is on top of Elvis's stick. Elvis is trying to pull his stick from underneath Tom Wilson. Tom Wilson is being a little bit difficult. I don't think he was intentionally like holding the stick or doing anything crazy. And Elvis takes like a decade worth of rage out on Tom Wilson, which every Blue Jackets fan was in support of. But and honestly, it made for an entertaining 30 seconds of just the play being dead and Elvis just going at Tom Wilson, which was just awesome. But Tom Wilson had the cooler head in that moment. He's able to draw the penalty, and that made all the difference, obviously. But Jay, there were so many times throughout that game where I thought the Jackets should have scored and should have taken advantage of like opportunities that playoff teams take advantage of and other NHL teams take advantage of against the Blue Jackets. Like Blue Jackets had the Capitals' third or fourth line out there when they had put an icing down. They had been out there for like a minute 30. This was in the third period, 2-2 game. I thought, the Jackets are going to get a goal, make this one 3-2. Sillinger loses the faceoff. Capitals are able to get a change. But I'm like, those are the moments that it goes the other way, right? Like Columbus is out there for a long time. And then there was a point, I'm even going earlier in the game. Actually, I'll save it because I think you and I, we're already up against our first little pause here. But there's a lot that still needs fixed with this team. You mentioned the deep pairings. I had some troubles watching the offense tonight. We'll talk about all of it next on Locked on Blue Jackets. Well, 2024 is approaching, which means it's a brand new year for possibilities. And even though the Blue Jackets are going to be in the middle of a season, I'm going to open up the doors and say anything is possible for them. And anything is possible for you as well, because when you play daily fantasy hockey on the Sleeper app, you can win big. It's the official daily fantasy hockey app of the Locked On NHL Network. Sleeper is our number one choice for daily fantasy sports, and especially daily fantasy hockey, because with Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests. Some players that I would be taking right now would be I like watching defensemen. So Quinn Hughes and Cale Makar are two of my favorite players to watch this year. I would take them. There's, again, players I like to watch. You can do the same. Pick players that you like to watch, and you can win 100 times your money. All you got to do is pick against certain stats, like pick against certain sleeper projections for things like goals, assists, saves, and plus minus or more in any given game. And you can have a chance to win 100 times your bet on Sleeper. You need to correctly predict the outcome of 8 player stats. You heard me, Jackets fans. You can win 100 times your money playing daily fantasy hockey with Sleeper. So start paying attention and nail your picks, and you can start winning big. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL, and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details and location availability. All right, Jay, I know this Blue Jackets team is young, and I know they're going to make young, somewhat boneheaded, naive mistakes throughout a game, because that's what young players do in the NHL. It doesn't mean that they're playing bad. It doesn't mean that I think they, need to lose ice time or anything like that. But there was a moment tonight when Chinakhov and Marchenko had a 2-on-0 with Lindgren, and I literally said to myself, they're not going to score here. No way. And that's their best line. Like Marchenko, Voronkov, and Chinakhov has been the best line for the Blue Jackets, which I think that is a little bit of a problem in itself, because those 3 players all under the age of 25, they're young. They're going to make mistakes. And that 2-on-0 where they just didn't know what to do with it, didn't even get a shot on Lindgren, was a pure example of that. And there were many moments throughout the game where I thought Columbus could have taken it. I thought the Blue Jackets could have won this game 5-2, to put it frankly. You score 9 goals on Tuesday night against Buffalo. You come back at home and only score 2 against the Capitals, who are bad. I don't know. I don't feel great about the offense right now. I know that's silly to say, considering they just scored 9 goals a couple nights ago, but I don't know. What are your thoughts on the offense right now? Do you have any more thoughts on the defense? I certainly have some on that side as well, but they're not getting goals at home, and it's frustrating.
Yeah. I actually am feeling more positive about the offense than you, I think. I think there are still some tweaks I would make, but Justin Danforth, I still think that Kent Johnson and Justin Danforth should swap places, but admittedly, the lines are clicking the way they are right now. I agree that I think they probably should have like got a shot, even got a shot away on that 2-0 breakaway. But I thought Chinakhov continues to, and kind of that's on our little side thing there. Like Igor Chinakhov continues to have just a monster month in December. Russian line continues to cook. I like Fantilli and Gaudreau together a lot. Excuse me. I think they're developing some real fun chemistry. I think Johnny Gaudreau is starting to find his groove. Didn't get on the score sheet tonight, I don't think.
I think he had an assist. Johnny, I think he might have had an assist. Yes.
Find this out. Yes. Secondary assist on one of the goals. So, but he looks like he's finding his groove again, is my point. I think we're starting to see Johnny Gaudreau, like we're starting to see Johnny Hockey again. There was a shift, I think, in the third period where he did just a real Johnny Hockey, like looped the entire offensive zone and then passed the puck off and then got it back and then did another loop. And he just like Johnny Gaudreau is at his best when he's in his groove. And I think he's finding that, which is really, really encouraging news. The fourth line didn't see a lot of ice time tonight. Gaunt, Texier, and Corrali, I was fine with that. I didn't think they had a great game. And encouraging to see Adam Fantilli getting plenty of ice time. He led forwards in 5-on-5 ice time tonight. So it's coming. It is. And again, it feels insane to say that because we've been saying it for months, but they're making progress. They are taking steps forward. I wish they were taking more steps forward, but I don't really have an issue with the forwards right now. I think probably we'll have some issues. Jack Roslovic is close to returning, which means someone's going to lose their spot. Mathieu Olivier is probably going to draw back in at some point. So someone else is going to lose their spot. On the defensive side of things, I think we might see Damon Severson on Saturday, I believe, is the game against the Leafs. We'll talk about that game tomorrow. And I think that'll help when Severson comes back. That will probably stabilize the defense a little bit. But right now, I'm not worried about goaltending. I'm not worried about offense. It is the defense that I'm worried about, which is arguably the position that we were supposed to have improved on the most in the offseason. And then, Provorov had a terrible game. He had a very bad game, and he's been fine offensively. He's been struggling defensively, and Andrew Peeke is not the right person to play with him because Andrew Peeke is bad in all areas of the ice. Like, sorry if you're related to Andrew Peeke and Andrew Peeke and you're listening to this, like, I'm sorry, but he's struggling. He's really fighting it, and not in a good way. So bring Severson back, get Peeke out of the lineup, flip-flop Jiricek and Gabranson because I think Jiricek deserves more ice time than he's getting, and I think Gabranson is at his most effective when he is playing limited minutes against weaker competition. But yeah, I have way more issues with the defense than I have with the offense right now. And again, I thought Elvis was very good tonight. How many saves did he have? He had 30 of 33 saves. He was good. A 900 save percentage. I would take a 900 save percentage. Lindgren was just better. I agree to what you said at the very beginning of this section before I went off on a real tangent. I agree. The Blue Jackets could have won this game 5-2. Lindgren was the difference maker, in my opinion. He was the difference maker for both teams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I do think it is probably important to point out that I believe the Capitals are without a couple of their better players, and TJ Oshie and Sonny Milano. So, like that.
I know. I realized halfway through the game that there was no Sonny Milano, and I was just like, thank God, because he has scored in both previous games against the Blue Jackets this season. One of them was the game winner, and I was just waiting for the Sonny Milano revenge goal until I was like, wait a minute, I haven't seen him on the ice at all. So at least there's that.
Yes. No, it's starting to. like, I don't know. I watched this game tonight and I thought Columbus really dominated the pace of play. And still, there's so many opportunities that they just don't cash in on, like, not even scoring, but even getting a shot off. And yes, I talked about the 2-on-0, but so many plays tonight where one of the defensemen who, again, I completely agree. I don't think the defensemen have looked great at all. Even Werenski, he got toasted early in the first period by Tom Wilson, and Elvis bailed him out. But I was like, ooh, hopefully that doesn't happen all night. And it didn't. It seemed like they cleaned it up a little bit, but you're right. Peak and Provorov are a problem. And that is going to lead me to what I have to say in the next segment in what the Blue Jackets can build upon, talking about all the guys that are going to be coming back here at some point. But yeah, there were points where a defenseman makes a nice pass up to, like, I think it was Juracek to Kent Johnson somewhere in that early third period, where the puck just goes through Ken Johnson's stick. And that play like that happens so many times throughout a game for the Blue Jackets that I just don't even think anything of it when it happens. But you don't win games unless you're able to catch a pass and shoot it. And I feel like that's the play that you dream up. You dream to have a guy like Ken Johnson 5 feet in front of Lindgren with the puck on a stick and nobody else in between them. And like, it just doesn't go the Blue Jackets' way, where he's like, he just can't even catch the pass. And it's like, I don't know if it's practice, I don't know if it's youth, but whatever it is, it's definitely frustrating for the fans right now because, again, I felt like the Blue Jackets playing against a beaten up Capitals team, playing against a Capitals team that they should have beaten tonight, and they only get away with 1 point. I'll talk about what this team can build upon next, and because season's not over. They've done enough in the last 15 games to actually resurrect this season, which is it's funny, but like, it's made this more frustrating than it already has. Like, they're just kind of barely floating instead of either just sinking or getting out of the water entirely. But we'll talk about what they can build upon next here on Locked On Blue Jackets. Passion, drive, patience. These are the things that bring home the winning trophy. They are also the things that keep your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and even level it up to a peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. They have over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back. So great deal there. A lot of other companies don't do something like that. So shout out eBay. eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. You want to be on the road, having a good time, driving safely, of course. Don't go over the speed limit. With all the parts that you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. All right, Jay. The Blue Jackets, it's crazy to think about this, but in the last 15 games, their record is 7-6-2. So that makes me think, like, hey, if they wouldn't have just lost 9 games in a row in the month of November, maybe they'd be in a lot better spot than they are now. But like, they are a 500 hockey team. Truly, I think they are. I actually think they're better than that if they can just clean up some of their miscues. And you'll get games like we saw on Tuesday night, right, where they just light up the lamp, get the home fans or whatever opposing building they're in leaving the exits early, like that. Those are the kind of vibes I see with this Blue Jackets team, and they're just so close to getting there. I think you've already said it this episode. I agree. They're taking steps in the right direction. Adam Fantilli getting more playing time is definitely a big thing. He's working out a lot right now. The Russian line remains hot, and that's all good. But the big thing for me is that once they get Severson back, once they get Line back whenever he's ready to play again, once they get Boone Jenner back, this team, if they can keep closing the gap on that wild card spot, which I think as I click trying to figure out how many points they are out of the wild card, I'm doing that now. They're 10 points out of a wild card. But if they can somehow in the next month, Jay, close that to 5 points, and they have a healthy team going into the month of February, I'm going to feel all the way back in on this season, and you'll have a season to play for. But I don't know. What are some of the things for you that you'd like to see this team continue to build upon?
Yeah, so first of just kind of a thought on playoffs is, or, this team continuing to climb up the standings. There is a world in which this team is a 500 team at the end of the year. I don't remember exactly what the math is right now, but if they win, I think the 4 of the remaining 5 games in the month of December, I believe they will finish I believe they will finish this half of the season above 500, which is, considering where they were this time last month, I think is impressive. In terms of what I want them to build upon, I think just keep taking steps. And I know, again, I've literally said it this episode, I know people are tired of hearing they're close, they're almost there, but I don't mean it in a way that they're close to being a contender, they're close to making the playoffs. It feels like the team is developing, the team is learning, the players are individually getting better. Kent Johnson has been, since I think, in his last 3, 4, maybe 5 games, I think has been phenomenal. Igor Chinakhov, we talked about, he has taken off. Marchenko is figuring it out. That Russian line in general has been excellent. Even Voronkov's cooled off a little bit, but he's still helping to drive that line. Fantilli,
he had a big assist tonight.
Voronkov
did on the Chinakhov goal. I was just going to say, Voronkov had that huge assist on the Chinakhov goal to tie it up.
Incredible assist from Voronkov. But the kids are working it out. I thought Cole Sillinger has looked really good the last handful of games. David Jiricek, I think, has been very good tonight. I know that you said that you weren't impressed by Werenski, but Werenski is looking more and more like the Werenski we were getting at the beginning of last season before he got injured. He's on a real tear. Last I checked, I'm just going to pull this out to make sure that he's still there. He's top 10 in the league for defensemen in points. He's got 25 points in 34 games. He's leading the team right now, I believe. So, getting a healthy, successful Werenski is really important. But for me, the most important thing right now is keep doing what you're doing. Keep giving the kids ice time. Keep rewarding them for good play. And I don't think this team should worry about playoffs at this point in the season. I think this team should worry about making the players individually better. And I know that that's kind of an unnatural thing to say for a hockey team, which is, the logo on the front is more important than the name on the back, or whatever the quote from Miracle is. But this team, if you want this team to be successful, you have to start building on these guys' games now. You have to start making Fantilli into that future number 1 center. You have to start giving Ken Johnson more opportunities. You have to start giving the Russians opportunities, because this is a core that could be together for the next 10 years, maybe longer. The core of this team is still incredibly young. There's Boone Jenner, who I believe just recently turned 30. And then there's Zach Werenski, who's, I think, 26. And then every single other person that I would consider to be in the core, like Johnny Gaudreau, arguably, but I don't know that Johnny Gaudreau is going to finish his contract in Columbus. We'll see. But everyone else is, I believe, 24 or under. So just keep letting the kids play. Keep letting the kids cook. Don't mortgage the future for the now.
Yeah, no, that's how you win Stanley Cups, right? Is you get a core together of some solid players I mean, I could name the Penguins core, the Capitals core, the Lightning core, the Bruins core, and we could talk about those teams all day long. But the truth is those players have spent years together. And when you spend years together, you don't get things like what happened in the last minute of that second period where Chinakhov and Marchenko forgot how to play hockey. I expect
It's
my
growing pains, you know, and we've been
yes.
saying this all season. It's growing pains, and it is. And I think there's a problem, not necessarily in hockey, but in kind of all of sport and everything televised, is you notice the mistakes more than you notice the good things sometimes, you know? So, like, I could reel off, there was that shift where Justin Danforth um, missed missed the net and then fanned on the rebound, you know? There was a shift where I think Ken Johnson lost the puck and went spinning off into the corner by himself instead of, like, towards the goalie, you know? These things happen in every single game. If they get a shot on goal and the goalie saves it, I don't think we're even talking about this. You know, it's frustrating. I'm not worried about the Russians because of.
No. No, I'm
I'm
not
like, no,
worried
no,
about
not to say that you are worried about the Russians because of this one shift, but I don't know. I'm finding it hard to criticize that line just because they've been the most consistent line, and at this point, I'm again kind of like I talked about at the beginning of the episode. I'm just gonna enjoy the good things and ignore the bad things, just for my own sanity and in an attempt to stop any more gray hair appearing in on my head. So
No, that's honestly fair. That's how I go about most of my life. Just look at the good things and ignore the bad things. But um, hand up, full disclosure, I had a lot of money on the over in this game tonight. So I was frustrated to see that go in, to not go in, I should say. But like, I agree with you. Like, yeah, look at the positives, but it's just like if we are going to get this team to being competitive, it's like the NHL is just such a like there's just no room for error, you know? And that's where it's like I can forgive them easily. I have no problem. Like we're going to talk about the Leafs tomorrow, and I'm going to be all the way back in on believing that the Blue Jackets can beat them because they did recently. Actually, just last week they beat them. So,
well,
and
yeah, but
yeah, we'll see. We'll see if they can do it. And yeah, why don't we put a bow on this one? Just say a missed opportunity. I mean, they took some steps forward, but no doubt a missed opportunity by the Blue Jackets tonight in a very winnable game against a beaten up Capitals team that now they've lost 2-3 times this year. So definitely it's okay to be a little frustrated as a fan after this one. Um, Thank you guys for listening to today's recap of the game. As I said, tomorrow we will be talking about the Blue Jackets and Leafs game, which takes place 7 o'clock at Nationwide on Saturday night. As always, thank you to the Everydayers for making this podcast possible. If you're not already one of our Everydayers, you can find us anywhere you get your podcasts. We're here on YouTube. Hit subscribe. We're also on the Sirius XM app. You can find me on Twitter, social media at HaydenH971. You can find Jay on Twitter at _ JAKOB The show is also on there at LO_ Blue Jackets. And if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, you can send those to us directly at lockedonbluejackets@gmail.com. Thank you once again for listening. And until tomorrow, make sure you stay locked on.